Hello and welcome to Small Business Snippets, the podcast from smallbusiness.co.uk. I'm your host, Anna Jordan. Today we have Timo Boldt, founder and CEO of recipe box service Gousto. He launched the firm in 2012 and it has been growing exponentially year on year. Earlier this year, they raised £18 million collectively from health influencer Joe Wicks, Unilever Ventures, Hargreave Hale, BGF Ventures, MMC Ventures, and Angel CoFund. In July, they raised a further £30 million to develop their artificial intelligence technology, bringing the total raise to £100 million. Bolt is also on the digital advisory board for Unilever. Hello, Timo.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and you, how are you doing?
Very good. Excellent.
Great.
What would you like to talk about?
First, I'd like to talk a bit about the artificial intelligence side. I understand it is a substantial part of the business. There's also a real emphasis on tech, so much so that you've got a separate Twitter account for Gousto Tech. I was wondering, do you see yourself as much of a tech company as you do as a recipe box service?
So we see ourselves as a data company that happens to trade in food. We have always been on this huge mission to make, to be the most loved way to eat dinner. And we can only do that by really harnessing the power of technology, transforming the way UK families eat, plan, shop. So technology is kind of the enabler. So AI for the last 6-7 years has played a crucial role. And the idea is when you open the app, you should see a completely personalized menu. I should see a different menu. We should only see what we really love to eat. Yeah. So that's, I think, the power of AI integrated into the app, and that's providing real differentiation.
From a personal data perspective, how are the pages personalized? What data tends to be taken to personalize these pages?
The section is literally called Just For You. So you open the menu, it's called Just For You. And then it has, a selection of recipes on it that only you see, no one else should see. You can still browse the entire catalog of the menu, but you don't have to. What we do is pretty simple. We look at your history, we look at what you ordered before, and we try to make a recommendation. But we also look at similar customers, so pattern recognition, and then trying to predict what else they might want, and then offering that to you. And those algorithms are the exact same two types of algorithms Netflix is using.
How did you find the transition when GDPR came in?
Look, I think GDPR has caused a lot of increase in process. Directionally, I think it's quite good for the customer, but we definitely had to up our game in terms of process and understanding the legislation. I don't think it's changed or impacted at all, our ability to surface better menus and better value for the customer. We welcome it. It's fine.
Great. I'd like to move on to Dragon's Den. So you appeared on the program in 2013, but unfortunately you were turned down by the Dragons. You were contacted by an investor shortly afterwards, offering you a substantial sum. How did that fit into the expectations you had from the program when you signed up to go on?
Yeah, look, as a young entrepreneur, I think you have to try absolutely everything to get attention and to raise money. So I hand delivered, 100 plus boxes to journalists. And one of the opportunities that emerged was Dragon's Den. I had an enormously fun time going onto the show. I actually did get 2 offers on the show. One they didn't show. And the other one we rejected. Duncan Benentine became a customer after the show, which is, almost better than getting money. And as you said, we had a great offer from a group of angel investors. They're amazing people. They've all spent their lives in the food industry. So they added not only capital, but lots of knowledge, helping us in the early days to set up the supply chain, talking to farmers, making sure we source the best quality food. I think it was a big catalyst for us. And yeah, we didn't take the Dragons' money, but it was an amazing opportunity and we had lots of fun.
Ethics play a big part in the business. It'd be interesting to know how you maintain those ethics throughout the supply chain.
Yeah, we've always been on this mission to make the planet better off with every single meal we sell. So in the early days, when I launched Gousto, I really wanted to find a way of taking the 40% of food that's wasted in our system out of the equation. So both in the supply chain, but also customer level. So by setting up Gousto, we managed to really take out food waste. So that's been a phenomenal part of the business since day one. And obviously it also makes great business sense because you don't waste food. We are also extremely focused on plastic, on packaging. This year alone, we're pledging to reduce plastic by 50%. The team is on track. So we've always had this massive ethos or sustainability focus. Now that we're larger, we employ people who really go deep into the supply chain to understand farmers, credentials, animal welfare, and so on. But yeah, I mean, it's very close to my heart.
I'm interested to know a bit more about the food waste side. So, if you've got a certain demand for one of the meals on the menu, if you have leftovers from, say, you have potatoes, for example, and you have a certain demand, but you've got some left over, what happens to that?
So, what the clever guys are doing is they're literally helping to come up with menus that reduce food waste to zero. So one, there's a huge focus on food forecasting, making sure we only buy what we really need. But then secondly, we can play with the menu so that we make sure we really use the food all the time when it's fresh and tasting the best.
You talked a little bit about sustainability before, and it makes up a large part of the brand's image. As we've mentioned before, you've got Unilever as an investor, and you're also a member of the Digital Advisory Board, where Unilever hasn't always had the best reputation in terms of sustainability. For example, it was named one of the most prominent plastic polluters in the Philippines earlier this year. So when you were presented with the opportunity to partner with them both on an investment level and on their board, what was going through your mind, and did you worry that it might affect Gousto's company image?
Almost no FMCG company in the world has done as much as Unilever has done for sustainability. They are so driven by the topic of sustainability. Paul Polman, the former CEO, is leading the agenda and the charge globally. I really admire what they've done. Are they perfect? No. Do I work for them? No. Do they ask me what they should do about sustainability? No. So I think they are a force for good. They're not perfect. I think when I joined the Digital Advisory Board, I saw an opportunity to impact and influence, and raise the agenda even further. But I'm not working for them in any way. I'm an advisor. I'm unpaid, and I think we have to work with large business to really drive change. It's amazing if Gousto can, change the world, but ultimately we need the Tesco's, the Amazons, the Sainsbury's, the Unilevers to have impact at scale.
So tell me a bit more about your role on the Digital Advisory Board. What kind of things is it that you do in that role?
I mean, it's an amazing board. They've got super experienced CEOs from large companies. Unilever is spending £10 billion on marketing per year. And the big challenge is yesterday they got beaten up by Tesco. Tomorrow they get beaten up by Amazon and Alibaba. So, everything is moving online, and it gets even harder for them. Their brands are getting cannibalized. Competition is on price all of a sudden. The Chinese market is growing rapidly, but it's all e-commerce. It's no longer in the shop. I'm kind of in a very humble capacity trying to kind of educate the board around direct to consumer capabilities, our sustainability mission, the fact that 100% of Gousto's recipes are revenues are online. How do you build data science into your business model? How do you hire tech people at scale? So kind of I'm playing like the tech advisory role, wearing my startup hat.
And in the past, you've talked about the importance of growing yourself as a CEO within your business. And what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a massive believer in kind of the power of learning and being curious. I've done an executive MBA, so on weekends I went to Cambridge to upskill myself. I'm becoming a certified coach right now, so I'm on a 1-year coaching diploma course, in the evening and on weekends. I also joined other scale-up boards. So I massively believe in this philosophy that everyone should aspire to be the best version of themselves. So for me, that's, the question is, how can I be the best CEO possible? 7 years ago, I didn't manage anyone. Today, we manage 500 people. Tomorrow, we'll manage, 1,200 people. So I need to constantly upskill myself, leading by example, and then role modeling to the organization that, you got to invest in yourself. You got to take time off to think about your own development. I think that's super, super important. The world's changing so fast. Plus, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for a lot of business owners, particularly small business owners, to really take that time for themselves, as you say. How would you suggest, I suppose, alleviating the guilt that they feel a lot of the time and leaving some of the work to the people that they've employed?
Yeah, I totally think that's true. Lots of people feel like they have no time. I mean, ultimately, if you want to be brutal, busyness is some kind of form of laziness. We're all way too busy, but kind of as a leader, you have to force yourself to get out of the minutia and the day to day. So I think you have an enormous responsibility to lead by example and to help people understand how important self development is, reflection practice. So I think it matters the world, but it is really hard. And I try once a quarter going on an offsite by myself to only focus on my own development, and I probably spend 50% answering my phone and 50, the other whatever, like another 20% responding to emails. So I'm not perfect. I'm trying really hard, but it is challenging. If you have the right people in the business and you surround yourself with amazing people, people are the keys to success. So the more incredible talent you have, the more structure you have, I think the more you can actually afford to get out. And if you feel guilty, then you might not have the right people. I mean, you can't be controlling. In my head, it's not about accountability. It's about ownership. It's about giving people autonomy and then cheerleading them. So, I mean, your job as a leader is to set the North Star and then to galvanize people, buy them cake, celebrate, clap, like do whatever you can to make them feel good, celebrating every step towards success. If they fail, build them up again, focus them on the richness of learning from failure. But it's not about the day to day and controlling every step.
The food industry as a whole is facing quite a few problems. Well, not problems, more challenges as we go into the future, particularly with sourcing enough food, changing temperatures, all sorts of things. What kind of challenges do you see in the food industry, and what kind of advice do you have for an entrepreneur who's looking at starting a business within the food industry?
I mean, the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity for entrepreneurs. So I think grocery is a wonderful market for entrepreneurs to enter and to do good. If you look at the grocery market, you've got huge supermarkets that for the last 50 years have built a supply chain of 10,000 stores, which for the next 50 years is no longer fit for purpose because everyone wants to order food online. People, pay a premium for convenience. Sustainability and health are so important. So I think there's a big opportunity around how we sell to customers, how we fit into their life. But then secondly, I also believe that there are lots of supply side issues. So for example, urban farming, in perfect conditions, you can grow organic salads, organic tomatoes, using a fraction of the water that traditional farming uses and none of the nasty chemicals. This stuff is not mainstream today, but I think in the next 10, 20 years, this will become mainstream and all of us will eat through those new ways of growing food. And to me, that's hugely exciting.
So, like the rise of hydroponics and growing food underground and things like that.
Totally, yeah. But it's in an embryonic stage right now.
Great. Well, that's it from me. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, the one piece of advice I would give anyone starting a business is to really focus on managing yourself before you manage other people. I think that's one of my biggest learnings building Gousto. So having deep recognition of your own strengths and weaknesses, knowing how to handle your demons, solving for weaknesses, turning weaknesses into sources of energy and strength. You need to understand the ups and downs of the emotional roller coaster of entrepreneurship. So I think learning this and building up the self-awareness and appreciation then allows you to have the energy to talk to other people and build them up when they're down and to lead other people. But that to me is probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned.
To help our listeners, what would you say is your greatest strength and weakness, and how did you go about realizing that and managing it?
I mean, my strengths are I like people. I'm a people person. I'm like 99% extroverted. I have huge levels of energy. I never run out of energy. From a weakness point, I mean, I probably don't pay that much attention to process and how we get there. I'm more focused on the idea and then empowering the right people. And I think that can alienate certain people sometimes because they might be more interested than I am in the exact process of how we get there. Whereas I feel like if we got the right people, I should cheerlead them and they figure it out. So over time, if you look at our team, the team that's surrounding me, they all pretty much play to my strengths. They offset some of my weaknesses. They are amazing at process and structure, which I'm not the best at. So I think, as long as you build a system that plays to your strength, it's absolutely fine to apologize for your weaknesses once in a while.
That's really good advice. Well, thank you for that, Timo, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much. That was super fun. Thank you.
You can find out more about Gousto at gousto.co.uk. You can also visit smallbusiness.co.uk for more information on artificial intelligence and improving sustainability. Remember to like us on Facebook at Small Business Experts and follow us on Twitter at Small Business UK, all lowercase. Until next time, thank you for listening.